Welcome to Tet Talks powered by Tetrad. My name is Mankone.
My name is Dimitri.
And my name is Debbie, and I'm the lead for Tetrad Resourcing.
So today we're discussing all things resourcing, and we're joined by our head of resourcing, Debbie, to give us reasons as to why you need to choose Tetrad for your resourcing.
Thank you, Mankone. Thanks for having me this morning. I guess resourcing is a big topic on everybody's mind, particularly in the South African climate, South African industry. During COVID, a lot happened. The world took a bit of a shift around resourcing. And of late, as resourcing has changed, the market has refocused. So coming out of COVID, where a lot of companies went external to get resourcing offshore, a lot of companies are looking internally within South Africa and looking at more local talent. So there's a big shift in the market in terms of a local versus offshore. So I think a lot of dynamic happening in the resourcing environment.
Great. And tell us, how do you conduct your needs assessment for resourcing? How do you choose the ideal people to implement?
So interesting, I guess the journey starts with the relationship with the client. So because Tetrad are at the forefront, and what we do is find the right resources for the right jobs within the client base. So depending on what the client's need is. So we'll get a brief from the client telling us they want a specific type of skill for a specific position. And we would then go out and have a look at the pipeline that we have, as well as the skill sets that the customer is looking for. It starts on quite a journey in terms of either interviewing people, or if we have the right skills, we can then send that through. But the brief really comes from the client. Sometimes clients are happy with us giving them offshore resources, but most of the time and of recent, they're looking for local resources, which we will then start the process of interviewing. I always say interviewing is a little bit of a touch and go situation. You don't always get the right candidates coming through on interviews. So a lot of finding the right candidates is almost like dating in resourcing. So you need to get to know somebody. Don't always take from face value what is on someone's CV. Lots of people sort of weave a CV together over a period of time. I think a good CV that you get is always if everything is checked. So if you're asking for certain skills and they have those certifications, that always gives a check. If they've got good skills and good expertise in that specific, let's say, area of expertise that you're looking for, that's also a check, because having done some time in that always gives them some credibility. But at the same time, you should never, there's a term that they use there's a TED talk that I've seen, and there is the silver spoon candidate. So the candidate that checks all the boxes and has all the right skills. They sort of your silver spoon candidate, and usually you would take that and forward that CV to a customer. And then you get what I call a scrapper. So the guy that worked his way up, didn't come into the industry with the right certifications, or at least the right level of university entrance exams, etc. But they've done their time and they've done their certs in a certain technology or a certain methodology that they're following. So they perhaps don't meet the criteria from the customer's perspective, having 7 years and a bachelor's degree, but they may have 7 years and experience on the job. So I call that the scrapper. And I think that you should always interview both, because very often the scrapper is the guy that's actually done the hard time. Mm-hmm. So done the work, worked his way up, got expertise and experience through actually putting his shoulder to the grind. And I just think that we should never discount those kind of candidates. I think they're great. So just back to your question, how do you find the right candidates? It's a little bit of a sieve through different people, different characteristics. You have to match the character of the individual to the character of the client. I think that that's really important. You can't have candidates going into an environment where they're not suited in terms of how the customers, the culture of the company is, and the individual's culture, whether they actually buy in.
So it's definitely like dating.
It's definitely like dating. You need to get to know your candidates, but you also need to know your customer.
All right. And how do you decide whether local or offshore outsourcing is the best solution for your client?
There's a couple of things that sort of direct you in that direction. Companies have sort of moved to what we call a hybrid model at the moment. So companies are looking at bringing the workforce back into the offices. Remember, during COVID, everybody was sitting at home, so it was remote working. So when a customer says they're looking for a resource, but they're happy that they are fully remote, that opens the door to an offshore opportunity for you. Then you can negotiate with the customer and you can ask them, is offshoring okay? Why do we look at offshoring? Sometimes the skills and the expertise that we need may not reside or may not be available immediately in South Africa, and then we would look abroad. And we would look at places like Poland. We can look at places like Nigeria. There's been a lot of upskilling in the Nigerian community. We can look at Europe and we can look at India, where they do have resources which we can then use from a remote contracting perspective. They certainly have the skills and the expertise. And there are very strong candidates out there. And in some cases, not always, their rates are quite negotiable. So good rates for our clients. So we're giving value candidates, and we also try and keep the time zones aligned. So if we do take a remote person, we try to keep the time zone aligned. But the big driver really at the moment is local rather than offshore.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Considering the state of our country's economy, do you at Tetrad prioritize local acquisition over offshore?
I think as Tetrad, and particularly as a BE company and proudly South African, before we put anybody from abroad into a position, we would like to place locally. As Tetrad, we try and bring in junior staff, or we try and bring in grads, and we try and grow them and mold them into positions that we need. So we will always try and do local first. And if we can't fulfill the need from the clients, we will then go and have a look at putting in offshoring.
Okay. And then those positions, is it like a combination of sometimes it's a fixed term contract, sometimes it's permanent placements, or how does that work?
So again, it goes back to the relationship with the client. In some instances, clients are either looking to contract, so they have a piece of work, which is a project-based piece of work, and they would like a deliverable given to them. So there will be a contract with the client where we'll say, okay, we'll give you an individual, either bum on seat, and they will form part of your project team. Alternatively, as Tetrad, we can offer them what we call a hybrid team. So that team is made up of a scrum master, a developer, an analyst, a tester, and we can then give them a contracting model of these resources that can deliver the projects on behalf of the customer. We also get requests from customers where they are wanting to employ, and they come to us to find the right candidates for them. There we have relationships with third-party suppliers, and we put our feelers out in the market and we try and source the best candidate for our clients. We'll do the first round of interviews and we will do the checklist in terms of what's required, and then we will hand the candidates over to the client to interview. So it's a little bit of a hybrid. So we do contracting as Tetrad. That's really where we put a lot of energy and focus, because we like to upskill and educate our employees to give the best service to our customers. However, we're not adverse to doing permanent placements as well.
Okay. And if it's a permanent placement, then those individuals, do they get hired by the company directly, or is it all through Tetrad?
So another little bit of a blend. We have a structure which is quite nice, which we offer to our clients. We will employ the individual for 12 months and contract them to the clients. Okay. And should they be happy, they then have the opportunity to employ directly.
Sure.
Alternatively, if the client is happy, we'll give them straight to the clients. They can be employed and paid by the client.
Directly, sure.
And again, it's just a negotiation. So it's a negotiation between you and the client and dependent on where the client wants to go. Again, big shift in the market at the moment, particularly your tier 1 companies are starting to look at insourcing. So they don't want a contract. They want to bring people in permanently so they can upskill and keep the IP within their business.
Okay, and how do you measure the success of your candidate or your resources that you put into place?
So particularly because projects are deliverable based, very quickly when the candidate has made their commitments and has delivered on their projects and collaborates with the teams, you would consider that to be successful. It's not successful when they don't meet their deadlines. And very quickly you can see when a technical resource has oversold their capability, they get given a piece of work and then they can't fulfill that piece of work. Then you can consider that to be unsuccessful.
Okay. And is there ongoing performance analysis from Tetrad for those individuals?
There's an ongoing touch base with the individual in terms of how are you doing, but more importantly, a consistent touch base with the client.
Sure.
How is this person performing? Because I think that's more important. Is the client getting the value that they are assumedly paying for?
Okay.
Of course. Well, thanks for that, Debbie. Can you give us, as we close, 3 reasons as to why anyone watching should choose Tetrad for their resourcing?
I think you should choose Tetrad for your resourcing because we don't just drop and run. We create a partnership with our customers. We invest in understanding your business and understanding your needs, and we want to deliver value to you. We also, from a resourcing perspective, we deliver quality resources. So when we employ, we upskill and we continue to grow. We have certification paths that our resources follow. And we also invest in our relationship with our OEMs. And lastly, we really develop great people. We very often, and not because we would like it, but lose a lot of our staff to our customers because they're just so great and they do such good work. They become really sticky within the client base. So we believe that we put good quality talent out there.
Thank you so much, Debbie. This is Tet Talk powered by Tetrad. We'll see you next time.